This is the naked truth about real estate investing. Your host, Javier, has already been through all the brain damage of this business, so you don't have to go through it. That way, you're not exposed to all of the risk of losing your shirt or getting caught with your pants down. So let's dive into another no BS episode right now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Javier Hinojo, your host of The Naked Truth about real estate investing. And today we have Ali Boone. Is that correct? Is that pronounced?
That's it. That's it. Just like Daniel Boone. Although I've learned with the millennials now, they're like, who's Daniel Boone? I'm like, oh, God. Yeah. I'm like, Pat Boone. I'm like, wait, that's not any better.
Yeah.
One of those Boones.
So Ali originally from Georgia, a couple of states from me. I'm in North Carolina, and now she lives in LA.
Sunny LA.
Sunny LA. And she just told me they had a somewhat of a heat wave right now, but
it's up to 80.
80.
Well,
wow.
I'm on the coast, so like inland LA gets way hotter. But for Venice, it's a little stuffy in here.
Yeah. So a couple of things about you that I know is I used to write for Bigger Pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Used to what? I say you used to, but you're still an aerospace engineer. You don't stop being one, right? You're one. You're always one. Or maybe
if you ask my mother, she would say I never stopped being one. But in my mind, I'm like, I can still make a mean spreadsheet. Let's be honest.
Super cool. So you're an aerospace engineer. That's awesome. And you quit your 9-to-5 and you do real estate. Mm-hmm. You have a coaching program, and we'll talk about your book, Not Your How-To Guide to Real Estate Investing, which we do have a link, and we'll put in the show notes. And she will give everybody on the show a free link for the download. So
that means you have to stick around and listen to the whole episode so you can get the link. Oh, wait, it's in the show notes. Just kidding.
Yeah, show notes. Yeah, that's right. That's the hook, right? We got some
I almost had everybody hooked.
Yeah, we got some pretty good followers, so listeners as well. So you'll get I love the title, by the way.
Thank you. I was pretty excited about it.
It's black and red, and I was waiting for like a zombie in the back, but that's okay.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
So, but that was pretty good. It was I like stuff that grabs my attention. And
I appreciate that. I actually had like a book expert person say, you have to change your title. And I was like, why? And she's like, you can never tell them what they're not getting. I was like, yeah, but in this industry, that's kind of the most important thing. Like, yeah,
for sure.
So I thought she made me question it, but I was like, nah, I got to stick to my guns on that. So I appreciate hearing that, because I'm like, haha. See, take that book.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I totally get the title, right? Like, it's like, it's a catchy title. So I'll, definitely take a look, right?
Because that's all you get with real estate books is the how-to guide. So this is not one.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, welcome to the show. What else did I miss? You want to share a little bit more about yourself and the background, and what do you got going on in real estate right now?
Oh, that's a lot. I'm like, let me, where to start? Gosh, real estate, we're in the middle of 2021, and what I typically work with, which is turnkey rental properties, the inventory shortage right now, we're strapped. Like we're hitting the bottom of the barrel. Cash flow is low. Inventory is either gone or super restricted. So real estate's been interesting for me this year. I've had to kind of pivot because I mostly work with people buying turnkey rental properties. Well, when suddenly there's not a lot of turnkey rental properties left to buy, I suddenly had a little spare time. So I actually kind of during COVID and all that, I've been coaching for a while. I've done business consulting, but it was always just kind of a side thing, if it came up. But with COVID and everything going on and just the market is gone crazy, it seemed like a better time to put some more effort towards that. So my coaching practice picked up a lot this year. It's kind of the perfect year to okay, let's all pause, take a second. What are we doing? How do we need to shift our investing? How we're trying to get into investing in a market like this? It's a good time to kind of sit down and have conversations. And it's been so rewarding for me. Like I said, I did it on the side, but not to the capacity that I've been doing this year. And I learned so much from the people that I work with. We get to kind of come up with creative stuff together of how are we going to make this work? Because everybody's situation is unique. There's no two people that I talk to who are doing exactly the same thing in exactly the same way. So it's really fun conversations. And then I've been doing the business consulting stuff. So real estate, I'm still 100% in it, but it has shifted, like I said, because the inventory shortage and it's just harder to buy properties right now. So it's been a little bit eye-opening of, hey, what would I do with my time if I wasn't selling properties? And education's my jam. So I'm kind of trying to build out the education side and really kind of almost like a give back at this point. That's a lot of the motivation for the book was let me give back, what would have helped me in my journey. And so that's what I'm now trying to offer other people. So I love it. It's creative. It's new stuff. It's been really fun and rewarding.
Well, I did subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I did follow you on Instagram. So guys, when I say guys, it's always gender neutral. When I say guys
and gals. Well,
yeah.
I'm from Georgia, so it was y'all, and no one in California says y'all. And I was like, well, what do I say in place of y'all? And it's like, you guys. Now that's not always, I'm like, look, if you guys don't want, if y'all don't want me to go back to y'all, we got to simplify this.
So, you got a lot of cool content on your YouTube channel. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Go out there, check it out. And look, everybody's working from home still, and there's no greater time to actually just some education. Watch some YouTube videos, follow some people on Instagram, go down the TikTok rabbit hole. I can't do it. So no, I don't even want to. Even by accident,
been down one. I don't know.
It just takes you everywhere. So it's a great time, right? With everybody still working. Most people still working from home. So that's awesome. So actually, it wasn't a bad pivot from your turnkey. So where were you basically doing your turnkey? What part of the country?
So the turnkeys have been all over. So I really it wasn't technically my first investment, but very early on with my investing, I started investing in turnkeys for myself. I didn't know that this was going to become a business. I didn't know that I was going to end up helping other people. I was just trying to put my money while I had a corporate job somewhere smart. So I found turnkeys and they worked for me. And suddenly I was telling everyone about them and they're like, wait, what? You're buying properties that you don't have to fix up and you're buying them out of state. What are you doing? And so that's what propelled me into the turnkey world. And then with everybody asking, it just was a very natural kind of thing where I then started mentoring people, also buying turnkeys, telling them, I bought through these companies. I had really good luck. I don't so much like this company, yada, yada, yada. And that's where it evolved from. And so with the turnkeys over the last 10 years, and I still do it, but it's just we don't have as many of them to sell right now, is I'm really kind of like the intermediary where I'm just connecting turnkey buyers with turnkey providers and turnkey companies that I trust. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm very transparent. And that's what I want to offer people is like, hey, if you go with this company, here are the things to watch out for. If you want that, I just try and be that kind of voice for, I don't want to call it an unknown world, but real estate investing in general, we just don't know what we don't know. And it's kind of like who do you trust? Am I going to get scammed? All that kind of stuff. So I've really just the whole time tried to be that voice of letting people know that they have somebody in their corner to support them. And so when I started it, I was kind of calling myself a glorified matchmaker because I was connecting with the buyers and the providers. And over the years, I've learned that more important than the matchmaking has been the role of emotional support dog. So a lot of brand new investors, turnkeys are a very viable option for them. And they're nervous, as we all are when we're about to slap tens of thousands of dollars down on something. It can be a little scary. So that's, again, the role that I've tried to fill is just be that support system for people and be that emotional support dog.
Yeah. So, I could see if you're out in California and you're going to invest, I don't know, so you say in the Midwest, when you're going to put, 10, 20, $30,000 as down payment or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I can definitely see where you could definitely be a little bit nervous because, you're not, it's not, you can drive there. Right.
I was about to say most people don't even fly there before they buy a property. And it's like, and for good reason too, because in the middle of the crash, this was a kind of a famous horror story is a lot of international investors were buying and US folks too, but they're buying properties that aren't rehabbed or they barely exist. There's been horror stories of someone closing on a property that burnt down 3 days before. It's when you can't drive by it and see it, that can be a little scary. So it's like, how do you work with that? And the benefit to learning that and learning how to do it is, like I said, you can kind of, I don't want to say invest anywhere because you don't want to invest anywhere, but over the 10 years, for example, with the turnkeys, I basically have the option to chase whatever market is the best. So when I started buying turnkeys, I was buying in Atlanta. And it was just right before the big boom. I mean, this was like the most advantageous market in the nation by a huge margin. And then eventually it was not the best market. So it's like, oh, pivot. No problem, because your teams come with the property. It's not like you have to develop a team in every single market. So the mobility, it's shifted over 10 years. What the best market is today was not the same 10 years ago, and everywhere in between. So there is a lot of reward for taking on the learning of how can you do out-of-state properties.
Well, you mentioned a couple of times you pivot, right? So, but before we get to that pivot point, what is one of the biggest things that you look for when you are vetting a turnkey company, turnkey rental company?
So many things. It's a little bit hard.
Or how about this?
Yeah.
How about you tell me a horror story, like somebody you vetted?
Oh man, you're gonna go right into the horror stories.
Yeah,
so the biggest horror story, I've worked with hundreds of turnkey buyers, and I would say in 10 years of hundreds of turnkey buyers, there's only been maybe 2 legitimate horror stories. And it was really it's just those freak of nature things. It wasn't that somebody was blatantly at fault. It just, this was years ago. There was a turnkey in Chicago, and it was a duplex, and I can't remember everything that happened, but somehow right when the guy closed, some of the tenants ended up getting evicted, and then they came back and vandalized the property. For some reason, insurance said they weren't going to pay for it. Like, it turned into a total cluster. I mean, it was just like one bad thing after another, and it was, again, it was no one's fault directly, but it was a horror story. It was just kind of one of those things that the guys was just not able to get out of. And then a couple stories like that. The bigger horror stories have been more on the BRRRR key side, which is the model where you're combining BRRRR with turnkey, because then your money's in the pot. It's just a higher risk model anyways. But for the straight turnkeys, it's only been a couple of them, but the biggest horror stories that I've heard were with a company that I've never worked with. I don't even honestly know the details. I usually know a lot of the details of the turnkey stories, but these I don't have enough knowledge to form much of an opinion. But there was a company who is pretty well known at this point and pretty well talked about because of all these horror stories, where kind of that example of someone bought a turnkey and found out it had burned down 3 days before. And really it's bad on the provider side, but also buyer side. This is why I emphasize to people, you are absolutely responsible for your own due diligence, because just because someone says that this is great and, great, it'll be fine, that does not relieve you of the responsibility. Like, I never want to put the blame on the buyers at that point, because if there's a company just, blatantly screwing people over, I don't want to take from that. But at the same time, these buyers weren't doing due diligence. They would have found out a lot of, people were closing on turnkeys that were never rehabbed. And it's like, well, where was your property inspection? Like, you've got to check all these things. So, it's the other thing with the horror stories on the turnkeys is it's hard with the providers it's about the property. And I think people put way too much faith in the people who are offering the properties. If we lived in a perfect world, for sure, it's ultimately starts with them, but it's about the property. So you've got to verify the property, do due diligence, all that kind of stuff. And when you do that, and it's a learning thing, I wasn't doing enough due diligence when I started buying because I didn't know. But when you do really thorough due diligence, your chances, at that point, it almost has to be a freak of nature situation to make it a horror story. So, there's a lot of personal responsibility as with any investing strategy. But, even with the turnkeys, just because everything is supposedly done for you does not let you off the hook for checking up on everything.
Yeah, for sure. Due diligence has definitely bit me in the ass a few times.
Oh, me too.
And you got to pay. That's the worst part.
So much too. Never cheap amounts.
It costs you money.
It does.
It definitely costs money, and that's one of the.
It's like, hey,
things.
What better way to learn? Like, I can promise you, there are some certain mistakes I will never make again.
So that's for
sure.
That was my next point. Right? It's like see it in your mind, and you're like, okay, I'll never do this again.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely do your due diligence, and try to protect yourself as much as you can. Right? You can't always protect yourself 100%, but if you take any preventive steps, right, before you buy your property, then the likelihood of something major happening, like you said, is very unlikely, right?
Yeah. It's like active risk mitigation and active due diligence Game changing. And again, go easy on yourself, because like you and I are both saying, it took me a while. It took me years to learn really thorough due diligence. I didn't know what I didn't know. Like, what should I check on? I don't know. So it is a learning curve, so if something does happen, it's part of this industry. It's an on-the-job training kind of industry. Learn from it, no problem. Keep going, versus like, completely knock yourself for it.
Well, take me through your thought process of your turnkey when it's slowed down, right? They want as many properties available, right? You have some big hedge funds coming up, buying up everything, overpaying for stuff just because, they got deep pockets. I always say you can always make money in real estate. You can always, like 99.999% of the time, if you have enough time and money, right? Unlimited resources and unlimited time, you'll always make money. But most of us don't have that, right? So when you started noticing everything dry up and you decided to pivot, you just tell me your thought process behind that.
Oh, when I figure it out, I'll let you know. No, it's, it's real estate, as with life, as with just about any industry, it's going to be changing, and things are changing at fast speeds now. I mean, not even just in the last couple of years, but over the last 10 years since the internet came up, and I think as entrepreneurs, investors, you always have to be open-minded to pivoting, because if you aren't willing to pivot, or you aren't willing to adjust for whatever's happening, the tide's going to go out with you. Like the turnkey thing, I don't know the future of the turnkeys, because over the last 10 years, there has been easy cash flow. It's gotten less over the years, but since the crash, it's been easy cash flow, lots of inventory. And now we're in a situation, you brought up one of my biggest concerns, is all the hedge funds, the big institutions are buying up real estate. And I think it's because I'm traumatized, because when Aspen started buying up all the ski slopes, like that's what it reminds me of, is now, I can't remember what the statistic is, but like 95% of ski resorts in the US or North America, I don't know what the stat is, but are owned by one of three major institutions, basically. And that the prices skyrocketed, when the private owner is no longer, when they're pushed out of the equation, it's a little dangerous. And I'm a little bit fearful of what's going to happen with real estate, because to me, it feels like the individual owner is starting to get pushed out. And so taking that back to turnkeys, with prices high, I don't see them dropping anytime soon. Construction prices are just getting higher. The institutional investors are coming in. Turnkeys, the whole model it's based off of cash flow. And so with the inventory shortage, the cash flow is going down, down, down. I don't know what turnkeys have worked phenomenal for the last 10 years. And I think they can continue to be phenomenal, but they're going to look different than they have. Like, I think there's going to be less emphasis on cash flow, more emphasis on long-term returns, all that kind of stuff. So my thought process this year is really just it's kind of my thought process all the time with everything, is all I can do is the best that I can do. And so for me, I want to help other people. So I've increased the coaching. I've done more consulting. That's great. It helps bring in extra income streams for me, out of protection for what if turnkeys do go away? I don't know, because I don't know the future of it. I have to assume they're just going to disappear and plan accordingly. All the while, the turnkeys that are still available, I'm still helping people buy them. I'm still connecting people to what turnkeys are left, and just really kind of watching things, because me as an entrepreneur and a real estate investor, even if you don't have your own business, you are an entrepreneur. It's the same mindset, same everything. Is you've got to watch and be ready to have a change forced on you, because if you just kind of sitting back and you're reactive the whole time, you're gonna get left behind. And so it's, my thought process is do what I can to help everybody, do what I can to help myself, and then just kind of see where this is going to take us. And there's been a lot of unknowns, because we've been waiting on the eviction moratorium to go away. We're waiting on forbearance to be lifted. We're waiting on all these things, and we don't know what's coming. So Godspeed. I think that goes through my head often.
Yeah. So it gave you time to work on your coaching and to work on your book. So
that was actually my quarantine project. As soon as we all got locked in our houses, I was like, ooh, can finally finish this book.
So let's see. I'm going to let you drive the conversation. So we can either chat about the coaching or we can chat about the book.
Ooh. You sure you don't want to drive?
Okay, I'll drive. So if I drive, we'll talk about both. All right, let's go.
Fine by me. Okay. I love both of them. That's why I'm like, ooh, I can't pick.
Let's talk a little about your coaching. So tell me what that looks like and what your typical student looks like. Just give me a brief overview.
So it's been really cool for me because I wasn't sure when I opened. So I'd always done it, but it was never really a public offering. So when I opened it up to the public, I thought I would get mostly turnkey people, which would be totally fine. But everyone always wants to talk to me about turnkeys. But what's been really cool for me is very few of them have been the turnkey folks. And so what's cool about that for me is I get to step out of turnkey world and really kind of look into the rest of real estate world. So my typical client is either one of two people. They are brand new, and websites like Bigger Pockets and all of the resources, all of the books, everything are phenomenal. However, there is kind of a negative consequence coming out of them that I've seen in people, is that it's creating overwhelm. If you type in how to be a real estate investor, you just get like whoosh, and it freaks people out because it's like, oh my God, now I have too much information. And so they're brand new, they're trying to get some kind of traction, and they can't get the traction because there's just so many things being thrown at them.
Information overload. Yeah.
Oh, huge information overload. Yep. And so it's like, what we'll do is okay, pause, let's step back and slow everything down and come up with, what are the next steps? What are you trying to get into? How can we kind of put one foot in front of the other? And that's really what happens with the brand new folks I would say, I can't even think of one that information overload isn't the challenge. Like that's 95 to 100% of all the brand new people it's all grounded in information overload. So again, one foot in front of the other. What does that look like? How can we slow it down? And then the second client which has actually been a pretty big not majority, but a pretty big number of people they are doing something in real estate already, but either something's not quite working, or it's not working all that efficiently, or they've bumped up against some kind of challenge. And in this context, what's really cool for me is I've never flipped a property, for example, but that doesn't mean that I can't help the flippers, because it's me overlooking their process of hey, I know I don't need to know the detailed logistics of how to flip a property, but what I do know is the industry as a whole and how that strategy can fit into things and what things you need to be careful of. And so I'm able to kind of, it's kind of like when you can't see the forest through the trees. We're in our own heads so much. We're thinking about our own situation so much. I work with coaches and mentors for myself for this exact reason, is I can't always see what I'm not seeing. And so that's where I come in with the, as well say, the existing investors. They all exist. The experienced investors is they've butted up against some kind of challenge. And it's like, okay, what are our ways around this challenge or through the challenge? And those are fun for me because oftentimes, sometimes I kind of know the answers right off the bat, but sometimes we're coming up with it together. And so it's two minds kind of like, what can we do about this? And it's fun. This is where the engineer in me comes back in, because it's like you take people's puzzle pieces and help them rearrange it and create this thing. And I love it. It's creative problem solving. It expands my mind into different things for myself to be looking into as a real estate investor, things, what all happens out there. And I love it. I think my favorite part is when, I just worked with a woman a couple days ago or something, and it was the smallest tweak to something she was doing, and she's looking at about 50 grand extra in her pocket from this one little tweak. And I was like, it's like having a little kid, and you're like, oh yeah, like the smile on their face, and it wasn't me who, it's a joint effort. It's the both of us working together to create this thing, and it really is rewarding.
That's awesome. So if somebody wants more information, they just go to hipsterinvestments.com, or where do they go?
Yep. So the coaching, if you go there, there's a tab up top that says coaching, or it's hipsterinvestments.com/coaching. And then when we give you the book link, there's a link on there to get to other stuff, so you're not just stuck. It's not just a book link, but there you can
that'll be on the show notes. And with that, let's go ahead and segue into the book, right?
Ooh, so love the book. Wait, do I have a copy of the book somewhere?
Yeah, not your how-to guide to real estate investing will explain how real estate investing is such a unique and creative industry that is open to anybody or anyone. That's what it says on here. So tell me what your process was for the book, and the name was cool. I'm telling you, I like the name.
Thank you.
And just tell us about the book, and then I'll give it the link.
Yeah. So I think I may have mentioned it earlier. My motivation for it really I'm a mindset girl. Like I love psychology. I love mindset. And I know for me, getting into investing, getting into entrepreneurship, basically getting into anything, I always say, if your mindset's not right, there's not a how-to guide in the world that's going to help you. And, when I was brand new and I was typing in how to be a real estate investor, guess what? Was all that I was getting how-to guides. And it's like, okay, how to flip a property, how to wholesale, how to whatever. Cool. I appreciate that. But should I be flipping? Should I be wholesaling? It felt like to me that this entire conversation was non-existent of flipping may be great for some people, terrible for others. And that's the case with every single strategy. And, there unfortunately is a huge failure rate as a real estate investor.
Bad for me. Flipping was bad for me. But yes, keep going.
Yeah. It's kind of, like, if you had given me a choice, do you think I would have picked turnkey rental properties? No. But because that is just it is in my natural grain, it's where my strength is. That's no matter what the strategy is. If you find the strategy that is really you're going to have such a better chance for success. And it's that whole conversation with the mindset. So for me, it's kind of like the prerequisite to any of the how-to guides is, like I said, these how-to guides are very helpful, very useful, but how do you know in the first place what how-to guide you should be following? And so, like, my whole motivation was, is there any possible way for us to decrease the failure rate with real estate investors? And why is it so complicated in the first place? So the beginning of the book, I kind of talk about the industry as a whole. What makes it unique from every other industry? What makes it challenging? What are the things that you need to know about this industry in order to better navigate it? And then I go into things like, just different kind of mindset concepts, like working toward your strengths, not your weaknesses. I have my favorite chapter in there we can talk about. It's called The Three True Currencies, like what I believe to be the true currencies of the world and how to use those to maximize what it is you're doing. And then, so lots of mindset concepts like, leveraging, all that kind of stuff. And leveraging's not just about leveraging money. It's about leveraging other people's skills, resources, all that kind of stuff. And then at the very end of a couple of things at the end of the book. One of the things that I did is I interviewed 5 different very successful real estate investors who all do different strategies. And I gave them the same interview questions, which my intention was to make it like a day in the life of, because you can read a how-to guide on flipping all day long, but like, what does that actually look like in the real world? If you're a flipper, what skills do you actually need? What are the things you're going to be doing every day? Because I feel like those things are left out of the conversations of like, oh, wait a minute, that list of stuff I'd be doing every day. Ugh, that sounds terrible. Like flipping sounds great, but then the reality of it may be a different story. So I did that with different strategies. So people could get a feel for, what are the differences on an everyday kind of perspective. And then the last thing that I did kind of sneak a how-to guide in there is I break down the exact 6 steps that I use to get out of corporate. And it's a way to get into real estate investing. Like if you're trying to navigate, like how do you navigate that process from being interested in it and starting to research it to actually doing it. And it's, they're easy steps. Like, and I kind of made them fun, but like, if you follow these steps, something will work out for you. And so that's kind of the gist of the book. And I tried to throw some personality in there because you've probably read as many real estate investing books as I have. And it's like, can we at least have a little bit of fun with this? So, but like I said, I tried to put some cool concepts in there, just things to kind of get your brain moving in a more creative way of like, wait a minute, the world is at my fingertips. How can I make this work for me?
Yeah, super cool. Again, it's a very unique title. I love it, and very practical. And I do believe it starts with a mindset. Everybody asks me all the time, how do I get started in real estate? I say, it doesn't matter what you want to start. Real estate, college, you want to go run a marathon, doesn't matter. First, you got to believe you can do it, right? So you got to get your mind right. And then the rest, it'll fall in place.
Yeah, it's like, I like the example of a marathon. Like if you want to run a marathon, you can try and wing it yourself and figure out how to train yourself for it. But like, if there's just kind of a easier path to follow, why not, get some information on how to train for it and all that kind of stuff. And the subtitle of the book is Life Lessons on Hacking Your Mind Before You Hack Your Wallet. And the reason I made it that is because most of the concepts in the book, shy of, very real estate specific things, most of the concepts can apply to anything in life. It's not just real estate investing mindset. It's like mindset for everything. So I tried to kind of have that in there where even if you're not that big into real estate, which you probably are if you're listening to this podcast, but, friends and family and all that, so it can help, help from a broader perspective, because real estate investing by itself is not what we're doing. It's part of a bigger thing, part of our lives. It's part of why do we do this, that kind of stuff. So it was, I actually really like how the book turned out. I'm a little biased, but I like the final result.
Awesome. Ali, thank you so much for being on the show. And this brings me to actually my favorite part of the show. Which is
these are always nerve-wracking.
Yeah, my favorite part of the show. So you can see my screen. So I have a roulette. It's called the Naked Truth Roulette. I'm going to ask you three.
Oh my God, this is exciting.
3 random questions. Got nothing to do with real estate.
And a spin? Oh boy.
Yes, and it's rated PG. Okay.
Okay.
So it's rated PG. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm nervous. What if I get one I don't know the answer to?
All right. So we're going to go ahead and ask you 3 random questions.
Okay.
And we're going to start the spin.
This is so fun.
All right. Let's see what we got. Okay, this is a good one. Okay, so the first question for you, for Ali, you have to meet somebody in an elevator. Okay, do you either brush your teeth or do your hair?
Oh, brush my teeth for sure, because nobody likes bad breath. And honestly, I don't know how to do my hair. Like the only way I know how to do my hair is go to bed with it wet from the shower, and then it shows up. I honestly don't know how to do my hair. So
I agree with you. I would brush my teeth.
Yeah, you'll get way less judged with good breath than you would hair. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's right. All right. So question number 2. Let's see what we got here.
Oh, it's a mystery one. What is
what is the craziest thing you ever sneaked into a movie theater?
Oh my God, I was such a rebel as a teenager. It couldn't have been anything good. Well, just for the fact that I don't remember should tip me off. I'm like, I can't imagine that I didn't show up to a movie theater without a flask in my pocket at some point.
All right.
And that's, I'm sure it only went downhill from there. I'm like,
somebody say they took a full, they had a Yeti cup, a couple of Yeti cups full of beer. So yeah, I can see that happening.
But now you can go to movie theaters and like order beer and all that. So it's like now it wouldn't be all that rebellious.
I'm like, why not? Right? Why can't you order wine in a movie theater? It's nice. All right. Last question for you. Let's see what we got.
Fun.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, this is gonna be This is a good one.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm so bad at celebrities.
If you could take any celebrity on a romantic date, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, hands down, Johnny Lang, the blues singer.
Sure.
Done.
Yeah. Awesome. That was, you didn't even think about that.
No.
That was fast.
I mean, not that it's in my head.
Yeah. Well,
that often.
You survived the Naked Truth Roulette.
Whew, that was fun.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being a good sport and answering the questions. Let me get out of here.
Oh, those are fun.
Stop sharing my screen.
I'm so bad at technology. I'm like, oh, cool. How are you doing that?
Yeah. Okay. All right. You see me now. The screen's gone.
Yep.
Appreciate you being on the show. How do people get a hold of you?
So I set up a link for everybody. We've kind of alluded to it. So if you go, so my company's name is Hipster Investments. If you go to hipsterinvestments.com/naked truth, 2 words together, no capitals, any of that kind of stuff. There is a option on there to get a free digital copy of the book that we've been talking about, Not Your How-To Guide to Real Estate Investing. There's also a link to the Amazon link if you're like me and you have to physically hold a book. I can't do digital. But on there are plenty of links that you can get a hold of me. I love meeting new people, even if it's to reach out and say hi. I love, feedback on the book, anything, any way that I can support any of you. Like, don't be shy. Definitely reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving the audience a free digital copy.
You bet.
And enjoy LA. Thank you so much for being on the show. I am Javier Hinojo, your host. Don't lose your shirt. All right. It can be very time consuming. It can be very scary. It could be like trying to get somewhere without a roadmap, right? So that's why I created this due diligence list when I buy a property. want to buy an apartment building, even a mobile home park, you can use it for, mostly pretty much any commercial property. But this one specifically is for a multifamily. It could be a 6 unit. It could be a 600 unit. You can use it, for what you like. So go ahead and sign up, put your name, email. I'll send you the free link to my due diligence. This is what I've used to buy, hundreds and hundreds of units, if not, thousands of units. So sign up, you get my link. You get an Excel sheet as well. And also we use the project management software, Monday.com. Feel free to sign up for a free trial. I do have an affiliate link. You don't pay any extra, right? They just pay me a small fee. Don't have to use it. You have the Excel spreadsheet, but if you use Monday.com, it's actually a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot prettier, and you can do a whole bunch of other stuff. There's even a video there I created in the link. So check the link, sign up, and this is my giveaway for you guys. Thank you so much. Take care.
You're invited to leave an honest written review and share this episode with a friend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.